All right, well, Mary Had a Little Lamb plays in the background. I'm going to try to go ahead and hurry up and go through these steps and how we got to where we are today. I've covered all of these. Now I'm just going to put them where you can actually just read them and see them. So they actually start from the top to the bottom. I'm trying to use my recording stick so it's a little bit more stable, although it's moving quickly. I know you can pause this. I know you have the capability to pause this when you're watching the video to be able to get the information. So then after this 9-2 filing of the enforcement, we now have a reset hearing out of the 416th Judge Oldner's court for October 2nd, 2015, at which time they pull another switcheroo. Chris Oldner had already done this with Judge Roach before. Apparently Scott Becker is now the Senior Board of District Judges head judge there in Collin County, and so he's the one that approved for Chris Oldner to take Curry Johnson's case after he pulled it from Judge Roach after that protective order hearing. Now he's saying, okay, I don't want it anymore. Now let's give it to Emily Miskell, who of course was just appointed by Greg Abbott in last October of 2015. So Chris and Scott colluded with Emily to transfer the case again to ensure that none of my domestic violence agency workers could show up. Now again, just their very existence and presence with me as a client that was staying in their shelter, that stayed in their shelter, that gives credibility to being a victim of family violence. And of course they couldn't have that happen. At some point I'm going to go through and show you, or some of the documentation that's been released. We'll show you where on 9-2 I filled out subpoenas for two Genesis Women's Shelter domestic violence agency workers, Jessica Brazil, as well as Jordan Tidwell, to appear in court because they both directly were could be fact witnesses to what was going on with Curry Johnson and also the handling of this case. I was in their shelter at the time that, unfortunately, I hired Rochelle Fetty out of Tarrant County with the Davidson Law Firm, and that was one of the biggest mistakes of my life. But ultimately, I had subpoenaed them, as well as Norma Taylor and also Curry Johnson's sister-in-law, LaDonna Johnson, who had shared a lot of family history, as well as his brother Jerry Johnson. And so I got my subpoenas for that hearing, knowing that collateral estoppel had already barred evidence of family violence as far as the murder threats. And so I also requested 4 hours from Judge Oldner. He said, how much time will you need for that hearing? I said 4 hours. And he did not dispute it. He didn't say he wouldn't give me that because I knew I would need time to actually present facts and evidence. Instead, again, he gets together with Chris. Chris gets together with Scott. This is Scott Becker. Now, I don't know him personally, but just learning how cases can be transferred, they all have to be in agreement. Emily also had to be in agreement to take the case, meaning they had to have a conversation with her. Now, when Judge Piper McGraw and Judge Emily Miskell were assigned to the 470th and whatever Judge Piper McGraw's court is, there was a long list of cases that got transferred. I actually have that document again. We'll release it. I combed through it with a fine-tooth comb. Our names were not on it. So that means that, yes, these 3 judges had to have a conversation about Marlena Yvette in this case before it wound up in Emily Miskell's court. So again, when people think I'm being a conspiracy theorist, when you just look at the rules based on how cases get transferred, especially when local rules says the case should stay in the same court it starts in, you understand that legally, lawfully, yes, there has to be a conversation amongst judges before the case can wind up in another judge's court. So to all the people claiming conspiracy theory, go read the law about how that happens, and you'll understand that this is how I know. Again, Emily Miskell understood from the beginning I was not going to get justice even in her courtroom. So now I'm just going to go through the different ones because I think I'll never get a chance to go through them if I don't. Okay. All right, Minnie, you know what? Let Mommy pick you up. Can I pick you up? And we do this? Will you let Mommy record if I pick you up? Not happening. Okay, I'll come back to this. But we're going to explain all the steps as to where we are today.